half ago or 2 years ago, that when he was younger, he would go out to the farm with some of the Anheuser-Busch people, with some of the Cardinals, and they'd play a little game of stickball in the front yard of our farmhouse. Now, I don't know if everybody here has been out to the farm. I'm sure a lot of people have. But we have a very nice house out there with a very, very big front yard. What he said was all the Cardinals would get in the front yard, drink Budweiser beer, play a game of stickball, and to get a home run, you had to hit the roof of the house. Now, the roof of the house is what seems about 2 football fields away from where they were hitting, and nobody could ever do it, so nobody ever got a home run. And that was kind of their philosophy. They wanted to make the game as attractive as possible. So one day, Stan Musial, who we all know is one of the great Cardinals players, came out and told my grandfather, or I think his father at the time, what's the game? Well, if you hit it on the roof, you get a home run. He goes, that's it? He goes, it's never been done. It's nearly impossible. So he said Stan Musial got up with the stick. They pitched the ball. The first hit, he hit it over the house. And he said, Art, nobody can do this? And I think that might have been the first time that Art Kerckhoff has been speechless. And so, as far-fetched as that story might be, I believed everything my grandfather told me, but you always want documentation. And it's never too much to ask for it. 4 weeks later, Stan Musial's granddaughter was getting married, who I went to high school with. So I said, if there's any time to clarify this story, it's going to be now. So we're at the wedding, and I see Stan Musial sitting there by himself, and I'm sure he's sick and tired of people coming up and asking for autographs, so I wasn't going to do that. So I looked over, and I go, well, there's the only way to approach this. I went up, I go, Mr. Musial? He goes, yes. I go, my name is Steve Kerckhoff. He goes, Art Kerckhoff's kid? I go, no, grandson. He said, how is that old son of a bitch? Excuse my French. I said, he's doing just great. I have a story to ask you. He goes, I wanted to tell you first. We used to play stickball out in the farm's front yard. I go, oh my gosh, my heart almost stopped. He goes, I was the only one to hit that ball over that house. And that was it was just great for me. And he knew who my grandfather was right away, as many people all over St. Louis and Missouri do. So it meant very much to me. And we talked about that story every time, and whenever my friends met him, that's the first story I asked him to tell. The second one kind of relates to my brothers, but I did not get to go out every Sunday to the farm with him and enjoy wine and cheese. And it's something I always wanted to do. I was just never in town, and my schedule never worked out when I came in town. So a year and a half ago over Christmas, he asked me again if I would still like to do that, and I said I would be honored to. My fiance is in town, and we're not going to pass up this opportunity. And he was so happy, and he was just a big smile, and it just meant so much. And so we went out to the farm, and he told a lot of the stories about the wine and the cheese, and of course I didn't know then, and I don't know now what the big difference is between red and white. They taste a little different. I work for Anheuser-Busch, so I can tell you the difference between a Bud and Bud Light, and I never drank a Bud Light in front of them. But we had the finest cheese, and there was snow on the ground. It was terrible weather, but we still got to enjoy every bit of it. And he told my fiance just how much he cared and loved, and you could just hear it in his voice. So that meant so much to us and me, and I just know he's looking down now and just so happy. But thank you all very much for being here, and Granddaddy, I love you very much.
And we also have a couple of readings from the family.
Wow, he was loved. My name is Christy Vatterott. And I was his first grandchild. And when I was thinking about today, I found a passage that I'd like to share with you. It's called The Final Flight. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following the path God left for me. I took his hand when I heard his call. I turned my back and left it all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to work, to play. Tasks left undone must stay that way. I found that peace at the end of the day. If my parting has left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss. Ah, yes, these things I too will miss. Be not burdened with times of sorrow. I wish you the sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I've savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with undue grief. Lift up your heart and share with me. God wanted me now, he set me free. Granddaddy, I am so proud of you for following your dream. I will miss you so much. And I love you.
I am Ann Kerckhoff Junior, one of his 3 children. And this is Safely Home, and Christy and I didn't talk, but it says a lot of the same things that Christy said. I am home in heaven, dear ones, oh so happy and so bright. There is perfect joy and beauty in this everlasting light. All the pain and grief is over. Every restless tossing past, I am now at peace forever, safely home in heaven at last. And he came himself to meet me, could I have one doubt or dread, and with Jesus' arm to lean on in that way so hard to tread. Then you must not grieve so sorely, for I love you dearly still. Try to look beyond earth's shadows. Pray to trust our Father's will. There is work still waiting for you, so you must not idly stand. Do it now while life remaineth. You shall rest in Jesus' land when that work is all completed. He will gently call you home. Oh, the rapture of that meeting. Oh, the joy to see you come. Thank you all for coming, and as Christy and the boys said, it means so much to all of us for all of you to be here. And Dad, we'll miss you, and we love you.
We do want to thank you, members of the family, for sharing some stories and also some readings, and to get to know Art a little bit better. I don't know most of you, and I just want to say that I did know Art. I talked to him many times. I'll weave a couple comments about his life. But we are here to honor and to remember the life and the character of Art Kerckhoff. And, when you say character, I know some of you would add, yes, and he was a character. The Bible says in one place, who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show it by his beautiful life. Now, that's an important idea. It means that by God's grace, every believer shows something of the wisdom, the beauty, the excellence of this world, even the excellence of God. We're made in God's image. And therefore, all of us have a capacity to show the world, to some extent, what God is like. We've heard stories about that, about the way he loved his grandchildren. And that's participation in the character of God, who has a love that goes from generation to generation and goes in families. He also loved his wife Alice dearly, as we've heard. The family shared with me on the eve of his 40th anniversary a letter, and it kind of had to do with a ring that he bought her, and he was excited about getting that ring, and he said, it's the most fun thing I ever got her. And then he added this: 40 years is a long time, but they have been wonderful, and I believe they'll get even better. Thank you, he said to his mother-in-law. Thank you for my wonderful wife. She has always been and remains the most wonderful and important part of my life. Now, no one loves perfectly, but Art loved sincerely, and he loved his wife Alice for 61 years, and that's a long and a beautiful time. He could be a charming man. Many of you probably experienced that, perhaps when you first met him. I understand he was a charming dancer, good enough that people would stop and watch as the two of them would dance on the floor. He was a golfer. He started a golf course, I guess, so he must have had some interest. And a skier, taught his family how to ski. But there are more profound ways, even than our hobbies, in which we can reflect the character of God. And let's just say that all of us do. Some do it by accident, some by design, some do it more perfectly than others. I'm going to say that Art was a man who reflected God as a worker. Now, we know that God created this world, and he designed it, a world in which humans could thrive, a world that the Kerckhoff family enjoyed being out and about in. A world, our world, that has sun and rain and fertile earth and animals and plants. And you know, if you got a little bit of a scientist in you, I just love to remember that the universe is something like 99.9% hydrogen. But you know, on this planet, we have oxygen and carbon and iron and selenium and manganese and chlorine and sodium and phosphorus and a few other things we need for life that are extraordinarily rare in the universe, but they're here because God put them here so we could live in this beautiful and complex world that we have. God is a builder. He's a creator. He's a designer. And he made us as the crown of his creation. And I believe that Art participated in the work and the design of God. He's a man who loved to work. If you worked with him, you know, as his grandsons pointed out, and I was his pastor, we had a lot of one-minute conversations, but you could tell he was sharp-witted, quick-tongued, full of ideas, candid, bright, forthright. He worked hard. He had strong ideas. He had strong ideas about the way things ought to be done. He would share his ideas, ideas about the family business. He was proud of his family, proud of Peevely Farms, proud of his development. He worked hard. He aimed for success and dedicated himself to it. In fact, about 3 weeks ago, he caught my hand after worship service. He sat right over there week after week. He caught my hand and said, "We got to have lunch." And I said, "Okay, great, let's have lunch." He said, "Well, I'm too busy for a few weeks. We'll have to have lunch." I said, "Okay, we'll have lunch." Well, you know, we didn't have our little lunch. We've visited a few times because although he was energetic and walking fast, the last time I talked to him, and maybe it's a blessing, he was gone sooner than we expected. And that's something we should all remember, right? Whether we're 42, 52, 62, or 82, whether we feel strong or frail, we don't know how many days we will have. We don't know how long we will live. In one place in the Bible, which Art did read, it says this. It says that we should number our days. We should know how to number our days. Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the earth from the world, from everlasting to everlasting, Psalm 90 says, you are God. You, O Lord, turn men back to dust. Return to dust, O sons of men, you say, for 1,000 years in your sight are like a day gone by, or like a watch in the night. Our days quickly pass, and we fly away. And so the psalm ends,